I think it's time for us to get into the Book of Unusual Knowledge. The Book of Unusual Knowledge is a bathroom reader chock full of interesting information, and I want to share it with you. Now, I'm sure by now, most of us have heard of King Tut's tomb, right? It's, up until, like, pretty recently, it was, like, the most intact Egyptian pharaoh's tomb that anybody had ever found. But it was allegedly cursed, and anybody who had anything to do with it died horribly very soon after. Or did they? This is the story of the actual King Tut, quote-unquote, curse, and why people started to believe that anyone who touched the King Tut tomb was doomed to die a terrible death. In the early 1920s, English explorer and archaeologist Howard Carter led an expedition to unearth the tomb of Egyptian King Tutankhamun. Now, most of the other, like, fancy pharaohs, like the real rich people, had already had their tombs raided by grave robbers way before all of this went down. But for some reason, Carter was just like, if I can find King Tut's tomb, because no one knows where it is, if I can find it, I just have this feeling that we're going to find a bunch of cool stuff in there. Within the king's burial chamber were vases, precious metals, statues, even whole chariots. Carter and his team excavated to their heart's content. Carter had been warned of the dangers of disrupting an ancient tomb, but he didn't buy into the rumors of curses and hexes. After opening the tomb, however, it was hard to deny that some strange, unpleasant events began to happen. All right. So here's a few guys who were involved in I don't know exactly what they were up to, but what their position was on the dig team. But several men in the excavation died shortly after entering King Tut's tomb. The first of which, the fifth Earl of Carnarvon. Excuse me, I have to say that fancy. He's an Earl. The fifth Earl of Carnarvon died only a few months after the excavation. Legend has it that that at the exact moment the Earl died, all of the lights in the city of Cairo went out. That's a ghost. That's a little ghost boy, because what was King Tut? He was like 15, 16, something like that. King Tut, the ghost of a 16-year-old boy, is coming in, turning off all the lights, and taking out the people who stole his stuff. Which makes sense, because if you ever try to take anything from a teenager's room, they get real mad about it. That morning, allegedly, the Earl's dog died, too. I'm thinking it was from a broken heart. He saw that his dad was dead, and he goes, I'm going too. I'll meet you there! I see the light! Egyptologists claim that the spores of mold released by opening an ancient grave are often enough to make a person sick or even worse. So, we don't know exactly what killed him, but probably mold spores. It's not a curse for opening a tomb. You're breathing in a bunch of mold. Stop it. The Earl's younger brother died suddenly 5 months after the excavation, and on the morning of the opening of the tomb, here's something crazy. On the morning of the opening of the tomb, Carter's pet bird was swallowed by a cobra. The same kind of cobra that is painted on the mask of King Tut. Coincidence? Yeah, definitely. Here's the thing. Cobras eat birds. Cobras eat anything that they can swallow. Anything that they can reasonably catch, kill, and swallow. That's what they eat. All right? That's what's going on. 6 of the 26 explorers involved in the excavation died within a decade, which seems like a coincidence, but most of the people who were there lived super long lives, including Howard Carter. He ended up dying at 64 of natural causes, and he had been working with King Tut's treasures for 17 years. So that guy, he got to go into the tomb, steal everything. I mean, bird was collateral damage, but other than that, he just got to die happy, famous, rich, and just surrounded with stuff that he had been looking for his entire life. That boy made it. King Tutankhamun's sarcophagus and treasures have been toured around the world. This is something that's interesting because of the King Tut curse. When the exhibit came to America in the 70s, some people tried to revive awareness of the old curse. When a San Francisco police officer suffered a mild stroke while guarding a funeral mask, he unsuccessfully tried to collect compensation by claiming that his stroke was due to the Pharaoh's curse. That's it. Certainly not just that strokes are super common, especially if you have a high-stress job and stuff. Gotta be a curse, right? Though, honestly, if I thought I could reasonably get a bunch of money from the museum because I got cursed by one of their items, I'd absolutely do it. I'd absolutely do it. I'm gonna get some of that museum money. They've got fancy boards. They got fancy boards with fancy people wearing fancy clothes on them. They got money they can give me for my Pharaoh's curse. Thank you so much.